Welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. This episode has been kind of delayed due to the craziness of the sports season, but Big Meat and I are excited to dive in to episode 3 of Loki. I think we missed episode 2, but we caught up with episode 3. We're going to dive into that, and we're going to pivot from our typical football talk, and we're going to focus a little bit on the NBA. A lot of excitement from the Celtics end of things. A lot of changes, big moves, and Big Meat and I are going to dive into that and see how we feel about it, because I want to get Big Meat's big take on this. And hopefully our third man will join us, but we're not sure if he got caught on daddy duties. But you know what? He'll randomly pop in, and if we say the word rock, if we mention the Rock a few times, I'm sure he might hear us and just start jumping in. All right, Big Meat, how's it going? It's been a long time.
What's up? Yeah, it has. It's been maybe 2.5 weeks or so, almost 3 weeks now since
Is it?
Yeah, I think this is the longest we've gone this year between podcasts. So, but that's fine, because we deserve our summer vacation also, Azar. This isn't we need to enjoy our free time as well. This isn't we do what we can. We do what we can for our fans.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, the raccoon is always on this, like, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? It's we got families. We got families to take care of.
Yeah. When you're saying like, oh, it's we need our free time. I wish it was free time. It's just this baseball season dragged with the last minute weather. Was just unexpected weather right during playoff season, pushing everything, and
that's right.
People panicking. Well, they planned vacations and like they just delay. Like everybody's trying to do everything, and
well, that's what it is. It's the free time, the little free time that we have in between all these schedules, because we always look at the week and we say, all right, we'll try to do it Wednesday, and then we say, all right, Wednesday's busy. You have a game for your kid, and then I have a game like maybe Thursday for mine, and then we say, well, what about Friday? And then that just doesn't seem to work out, and then we could always do it at these like awkward, like random times throughout the week, and we just say, screw it, like let's just push it out to next week, and we'll do it after that. It's just we could find the time if we squeeze it in, but then we won't have any time for ourselves to do what we want to do. So, but yeah, we try hard.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we're trying to catch up with the shows, try to keep up with like current stuff, trying to catch up with sports, and just juggling all this with sports. It has been. I'm looking forward to the end of baseball. Like my summer starts at the beginning of August when softball ends for my daughter. But I'm looking forward to having a month of nothing to do with sports. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's yeah. Most of our sports has been over. Now we're just starting the travel baseball, which I think runs till early August or whatever, maybe even late July. But then it's over, and then I think that month after that is like free of nothing.
August and September
I'm looking forward to.
So sweet, and it's just 100% focus on fantasy football.
Exactly, I was gonna say, just in time for fantasy.
Yeah, because all of a sudden, like, I start diving into the magazines. Jarvis, I know you hate it, but yes, I dive into my magazines more. I listen to podcasts, shows. I just immerse myself in complete fantasy football.
Yes.
Awesome.
And speaking of fantasy football, I was in the supermarket yesterday, and I just happened to just walk by the magazine section, and I happened to just kind of remember, like it's got to be out soon, because I remember like 4th of July, like right around that is when they released the magazines, right? And I'm not a big, like, I obviously years ago, right? We used to be big in the magazines. Everybody had to get a magazine. You got to read it.
Yeah.
And they just get outdated, right? You get the magazine a month later. There's so many different things that happen, but you still need it. It's just for that to get into the whole fantasy season. You need to get that magazine. So I'm with you. Does Jarvis not like the magazine deal? Is it because it's outdated?
I gotta wonder, because like he doesn't like it, but if he was going and sitting. And I think because he has a young one now, so he'll have more downtime. He's going to enjoy them. I guarantee you at some point he'll break down and get a magazine, because it's just like us. If you go to the beach and you're just sitting there, there's nothing to do. So nothing's better than just sitting on the beach or a lake and just pull out a magazine, and just enjoying the fantasy football. Like, what are you going to pull out a binder of papers that you've printed? No, it's not as fun as just being able to roll up a magazine, you
Was
throw it in
that
a bag.
was that a dig at Mr. Roper?
Well,
It's-
it actually wasn't, because I think Mr. Roper still buys magazines. Like, he actually gets into it, if I'm not mistaken. But Jarvis talks about printing. Like, why spend the money when I can just print it? And I get
right.
that, but it's not as clean as like a nice magazine on the beach or whatever you're doing. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
even if you're doing sports with the kids, if you're just sitting at the park and there's like they're doing warm ups before the game. What are you doing? You either play with your phone or just pull out a magazine and just start flipping through the magazine. So it's a great time killer. Uh,
Yeah, you bring back that old school like feeling of just have the magazine. You've done it for so many years. It's like you don't want to give it up. Like
yeah.
you look forward to having that magazine.
Now I don't
As long
bust out
as
the highlighter like I used to, but I just read it now. But I don't.
Oh,
I
I
don't
still do
highlight.
the highlighter. I
Do you
still
still
do the
highlight?
highlighter.
Yeah.
Usually on the beach. Like
Yeah.
you made a good like that's a great point on the beach. Sitting on the beach with the magazine, have a highlighter there, and you're just going through it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
I
great.
was
As long as me and you don't buy the same magazine.
yes.
That's when it's not good. I
Well,
want to have a difference of opinion.
that's the best part of the fantasy draft is when we start breaking down, like when everybody starts sitting down and setting up for their draft, and then you start looking at who got what magazines, because then you could tell, oh crap, that's his source. Like, he's got the same intel as you. So
I,
nothing's worse when you have the same as I do, and I'm like, he's got the
yeah.
same magazine, and we're drafting next to each other. That's the worst. That's a
well,
party
well, I,
foul.
I- there's so many magazines out there now, and I always flip through before I buy one. I flip through, and if I just happen to see somebody say like some nonsense, right? If like I see Joe Mixon like in the first round, like I close the magazine, I put it back on the shelf. I say I'm not getting that magazine. They know nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to base my research on this guy who picks Joe Mixon in the first round. So I just got
It's
to read through a few of them, and if I tend to agree we're on the same wavelength there, those are the magazines I typically go for.
I agree. I agree, and I'm sad to say I'm already hearing the buzz about Joe Mixon already, because Gio
A lot
Bernard
of
is a
buzz.
so what is the over and under? How many more catches you will get? I'm like, oh my god, here we go, another year of potential Joe Mixon. You know
He
what?
is untouchable. Not well, untouchable. He's not. He's so what's that word like he's got like a suit of armor on him. Like there's
Teflon,
like no
Teflon
yeah,
Mixon,
like there's
Teflon Mixon. Nothing
nothing
sticks.
can bring that guy down. It's like he
Yeah.
keeps coming back every single year. He could have the worst year, and then the next year, like something happens, like the backup running back gets cut or gets traded. They bring in another receiver. They up their offense. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, Joe Mixon, he's back.
Yeah.
It
This is
seems
the
like it
year.
happens every year with that guy.
He gets
So
more chances. All right. Well, why don't we dive into it? I just wanted to share, because we talked a lot about gin and tonics, and I've actually moved away from gin and tonics, even though as much as I enjoyed them, I'm actually in a huge mojito kick, big mojito kick. So if the only thing that I can say is, because mojitos are pretty straightforward, you get a bottle of Bacardi. There's no need to buy different. You don't need to get crazy with the bottle of rum, white rum for a mojito. But I did find that, because I've been growing it, spearmint is really good for the mojito. And if anybody's looking for a recipe, if they want to get into the season, the recommendation I'm going to give you guys: get a good bottle of Bacardi, do 3 ounces of rum. They sell simple sugar. Get simple sugar. It's usually in the markets, like in Market Basket aisle or the Hannaford aisles. If you're local, or probably any supermarket, go to the section where you see them sell mixers, or they sell like Bloody Mary mix, things like that. They have a bottle of simple syrup. That's the thing to use. Don't use sugar or don't use Sprite. Get a bottle of simple syrup. Do 3 ounces. I got like one of these like measuring cup. It looks like a little beaker. It's not a cup. It looks like a little beaker or a shot glass. You measure 3 ounces of rum. If you like a sweet tooth, do about an ounce of the syrup. Muddle your lime and your spearmint together. And the soda that I use, I actually use lime, that brand Bubbly. I don't know how they pronounce it. Bubbly lime seltzer water. That is, you mix all three of those three things together. It makes a great foolproof mojito. So if anybody's looking how to make a mojito, that's the recipe I'll throw at you. 3 ounces of rum, half ounce to 1 ounce of the syrup. Muddle your lime and your mint together. Mix it, and then dump that into a cup of ice, and then just top it off with the club soda from Bubbly, the lime flavored one. You can't go wrong. So I've not screwed them up. It's been always perfect every time I made it. Like from a good if you get a good mojito from a good restaurant, there's nothing like it. That's I finally found a recipe that works for me. So I'm giving that out
Okay.
to you guys.
All right.
So
Well, I'm not a big mojito fan. I don't like the mint flavor
really?
in drinks. No, I don't. I don't like that spearmint like taste. Um,
Well,
but
you can cut back on that and put a different fruit. So I've seen other bars now start to
sure.
experiment. They muddle raspberries and limes and a little bit of mint, so it's like more of like a raspberry mojito, or you can do it with a strawberry. So if you like that fruity flavor, I know you're a fruity kind of guy. So,
So
but
many
if,
ways.
yeah, but if you're like a traditional mojito, I mean, I've been growing my own spearmint compared to what I get in the store, and night and day. This stuff has been
All right.
fantastic this
Well,
season.
how quickly we switched from gin and tonic. We were just talking gin and tonic was the craze just a few weeks ago, and
It is.
we
It
got gonna
is.
drink it all summer long, and all of a sudden you've moved on.
Well, you know what? Because I saw the mint coming in my garden, and I'm like, this looks too good. Like the leaves are gigantic, like they're on steroids. I don't know what is happening, but they're like, I don't know if it's been all the rain. I was like, it's time for mojitos. I just can't resist, and I've been in love ever since. Like I've been flying through this bottle of Bacardi, and in this weather of 90 degrees, you come in and you make yourself a nice ice cold mojito. Oh, just nothing beats it. I've got the beer because I bought a summer shandy. And I have like a bottle of Coors Light. I have a summer shandies from Leinenkugel. It's not as refreshing as a mojito. I'm just telling you, like
Okay.
even a gin and tonic is more refreshing than a beer. I'm just, I don't know what it is.
Oh, it definitely is. So I think gin and tonic is definitely more refreshing than a cold beer. But yeah, I just it's something with the mint is just for me. It's just
Not for you.
no. I
No.
just there's something about it. It's like the Bloody Mary. It's like something with the spicy tomato juice.
The
I can't do.
heartburn.
And I don't know if I told you. I remember we talked about the Bloody Mary thing. You said like, oh, you got to get the right tomato juice, and I'm willing to give it another shot. But one of our baseball games, it was in the morning, and somebody came and brought like their own Bloody Mary mix, and everybody was raving about it. And I said, you know what? I said I'll give it a shot. I said, I don't like them, but I've been told that if you make it right and it's good, then you can like it. I still have to force this thing down. I
Yeah.
was sipping it, and I said, maybe it's just not for me. Like everybody has their own,
Yeah.
likes and dislikes, and it just wasn't for me.
Yeah. I don't. You
So
know what? It's some tastes just don't land right. But you know what you like, and I think we're in agreement. Gin and tonics universally. And I did do a little research. It's actually not. I always heard this urban legend that gin is not good for you out of the liqueurs like whiskey or vodka or gin. I always hear gin gets knocked, but I did some homework, and that's just a myth. Gin is not bad for you, so you can drink gin. I think the calories are from the tonic water, but you can get diet tonic water if you're really worried about it.
hmm,
If you have a like weight issue or diabetes or something, but
hmm. But even
um,
tonic water, is that even really that bad?
Um, it's not like drinking like a Jack and Coke. Like Coke has a lot more calories in it
Sure.
than so it's not terrible, but I think it's like drinking like a seltzer. I'll save it for the next podcast. But I did try those vodka and soda is in a can that they sell it in the markets now. I think one of them is called High Noon. I think one of the brands. I'll
Hmm.
give a review on that. I actually had that, and I gotta say, I was told by friends that they're better than White Claws or Trulies. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, before we review it, go get yourself a 4-pack. You might be surprised. You might actually like them more. And
Hmm.
again, they're like a summer drink. I don't know if I would drink them during the winter. I think that just wouldn't go with it. But I'll do that review next week. I did have those. You know what? Shame on me. I probably should have reviewed that. But let's just dive into, for the sake of time. You saw the same text thread that I did. The negativity that Mr. Roper threw at Loki took me by surprise. And
Yeah.
and again, his reviews of stuff isn't really carry a lot of weight because
No.
he loves
No.
the new Star Wars franchise, and just start like he just watched Indiana Jones, and and I know he liked the Indiana Jones, but I just don't give him the same credibility like
No.
people that love movies and stuff. But I was surprised because I've gotten some feedback that people aren't really into Loki and they find it slow and boring. And I'm kind of shocked by that because I feel like the pace is really so much better than the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
Oh, much better.
the people that like Falcon and Winter Soldier are the ones that don't like Loki. And I'm kind of confused. Like to me, I'm like, what are you guys? Are we watching the same thing? I feel like the pace has been great. Like everything that they're saying is leads to something else. Like you have to watch Loki because everything is meaningful, like WandaVision, where Falcon and Winter Soldier has nothing to do with anything. Like you can just forget about that. And they might tie it into a future episode, but I felt like they did a shit job of tying that for future movies or anything like that. Like it just seemed like it was on its own. Where
Yeah.
Loki, I don't know. I mean, tell me your thoughts, me. I'm kind of ranting, but
Well, I think those people that don't like Loki is the people that are looking for maybe a little bit more action or something that makes a little bit more sense, right? I mean, you watch it if you're not following the Marvel movies as much as I have over the years, you might come into watching Loki and be like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what they're talking about. It's a lot of dialogue, but you have to almost kind of read between the lines. This is only a 6 episode season. We've already gone through 3 episodes already, so it's quick, right? It's good. We're halfway there. It really is building up to the whole like multiverse thing, right?
yeah,
Because you can only go so far with these movies. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to end. I mean, I'm assuming the MCU is here forever, right? They're just going to continue making movie after movie after movie. And when Iron Man got killed and Captain America's done and Thanos' story is done, like what's the next big thing? And they have to open it up into this whole multiverse thing that the comics did. That's something that a lot of the DC shows have done pretty successfully with shows like The Flash and some of those shows. Um, so if you're not watching this, and then you jump ahead to some of the future movies that do touch on the whole like multiple universes that are out there, then you're going to be lost. You have to follow this and be intrigued by that somehow. And Loki is still such a great character. I think you said it
yeah.
before, Azar, with the kind of he wasn't in the last episode, but the back and forth between Loki and Owen Wilson's character there. I think I find that part entertaining. I do like the little
Yeah.
the banter in between those two characters. I thought this last episode, I think it was like it did drag a little bit, right? And I think it was just kind of building up until the very end. I liked the very end of it. Like that seemed like it was pretty good with the whole one shot deal as they're you know kind of I guess escaping like the whole planet that they're on
Yeah.
that's crumbling around them. But
And
yeah,
the
I'm
special
I'm,
the
I'm
special
excited.
effects of that, like I feel like everything about that, it's not low production. It's not like a
Oh
cheap
yeah, no, it never
production
is. Hmm.
movie or show. Like I feel like because some TV shows you can tell are done on a cheap budget. This is done with high quality, so I like it. I think the writing has been well done to your point, and I hope Owen Wilson has a future in the Marvel universe because I think that banter and the dialogue between those guys is so good. I hope it carries over into some movies or something like that. But um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I'm with you on like I really like the series.
right.
Uh,
Yeah. And you could kind of see where it's going, right? Once a timeline gets broken or whatever, and you could see that kind of at the end of the season, whatever ends, however way it ends, you could see it being like all the time, like the whole timeline just being chaotic. It's just broken in a million
yeah,
different things, and that opens up so many more storylines in the MCU. This is where like the Doctor Strange movie comes in, where I don't know what the plot is of those movies, but it's going to open up so many different storylines, and that's the part that I'm looking forward to. So you have to follow this one, and people always forget too, like this is the Loki of right after the first Avengers movie, right? This isn't the Loki from Thor 2, the Loki from uh,
Endgame.
Endgame, right? Where he kind of like redeemed himself a little bit, and
Yeah,
he's still the evil Loki in this one. So you can always just kind of watch us thinking, you could see still a little bit of evil in him. He's trying to kind of backstab some people, and you kind of wonder where's he going to go with this whole story.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
And
liking it. I'm not loving it, but I do like it. I do enjoy this one way better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think that was just
I like
pile of garbage.
the creativity of it, and I know it's I've you guys, if you listen to the podcast regularly, I bitch about time travel. When you get into that, it gets too in the weeds. What I
Hmm.
like about Loki is they don't get into the weeds about it. They kind of touch on it. It exists. Just go with it. They're not bogging you down with this complicated time jumping nonsense. I feel like they started to, but they quickly moved on, and now you're following the story. And again, I maybe it's just because I like the actor who plays Loki so much that I think he does such a good job. I like I just like how he comes off on the show. Even the variant version of him, I'm getting into it, and so
Yeah, the
I think
woman.
yeah, I don't want to be a spoiler, but okay, Big Meat will spoil if you haven't watched it. So I'm looking forward to this Wednesday. And like to your point, I think I get what this series is. It's just like WandaVision. People are so hung up on WandaVision, but it's like this is just a stepping stone for future things. So just watch it with that in mind. Like, hey, we're laying you the groundwork. So when we jump into this, it makes sense because we can't just start a movie here. It's just like starting Star Wars in episode 4, right? Like you just got to go with it, right? Where you never heard the prequel, you don't understand where the dark side came from or nothing, but you just went into it. So Star Wars, so Disney's smart enough to say, look, we'll get these shows going. That way, when we go into our next phase of the Marvel universe, some people have a background, so you're not going in blind and confused. Because I think it is going to be kind of much more confusing than the the phase where Thanos was the enemy. I think when you do Kang the Conqueror, I think it's going to be much more complicated
Yeah.
of a storyline. And again, the whole multiverse with Doctor Strange. If you don't really watch that movie and watch it a couple times, it is a confusing thing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not. It's not very straightforward. And
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate it the first time, but after I watched it a second time, I was like, it's actually a pretty good movie. It's not my
Right.
favorite movie,
Yeah.
but speaking of Marvel, I don't know about you, but I'm actually so excited that Black Widow is finally dropping on July 9th. So if you guys
Yeah.
are, it's vacation week for a lot of people. If you've been waiting to go to the movies, this is a movie worth going to the movie theater and watch. I think
Mhm.
from the previews so far, it looks pretty good. It should be different, and it looks like it has the
Yeah.
guy from the Stranger Things as one of the lead characters in it. So, and he's always a
Yeah.
good actor. So I think it's going to be a good show.
Yeah. It's weird how that was supposed to come out in May of 2020.
Yeah,
And
imagine
here
that.
it's July in almost July in what actually what day does it come out? July 9th?
July 9th. July 9th.
July 9th. Yeah, so it's crazy how long people had to wait to to see this movie. It's
Yeah.
just like crazy. But yeah, I'm
It-
looking forward to that. I think it's gonna be a good one.
yeah. If you're, I have purchased the Disney premium access for a movie, the $30. It's pretty easy. So if you're afraid to go to the movie theater, it's $30 just to let you guys know. So if you have Disney Plus and you don't want to bring your family into a theater, I think a movie like that is worth the $30. I actually
Mm.
spent the $30 on Cruella because my wife is a fan of that character in those movies. And actually, Cruella is probably, believe it, we didn't talk about this, but I don't know if did you watch Cruella
Not yet. No, no,
and with Emma Stone? I'm telling you,
I've yet to purchase the premium $30 for any
well, you
movie
know
that.
what? It's probably going to drop in a month or so, like live, like on their platform. So who cares? But I'm telling you, out of the adaptations from a cartoon to
Yeah.
like a live action, it is not even close. It actually is like a prequel movie, so it's completely independent of the cartoon, and the movie is so well done that I have to say it is probably the best movie I've watched so far in 2021.
Hmm,
I was shocked because
okay.
I wasn't really into it. I was kind of nervous. I'm like, "Ugh, this looks like it might be cheesy." It's
Yeah.
dark. It's dark for Disney, really dark for Disney. And Emma Stone does such a great job playing Cruella Deville and the cast around it. There's a good villain in it that makes you want to hate her and you want her to get it in the end. So well done. So I gotta say, shockingly, probably one of the best movies that's come out so far in 2021 that
Yeah,
that
I've
we've
heard
seen.
that.
So
I-
really,
I've
okay, I haven't heard. I
I've
haven't
heard.
dived into it. So
Yeah, I've heard everyone who's seen it, they've loved it. So like, yeah, we were close to ordering it like a week or two ago, and then we ended up like passing on it, and we just now it's just kind of like dragging out where we're just eventually we'll end up watching it, but we haven't gone around to it. But
yeah, maybe
how
during
does the
vacation week you might break down and get to it. But it's really good.
so
It's
if you
it's worth
pay
it.
so for regarding this movie and for any future movies, would you pay the $30 with the premium there to
Yep.
get it? Is it stored? Like, can you watch it over and over and over again, or is it just kind of a one shot deal?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't gone back to see. We replayed it and watched it again because the kids didn't watch it the same night that we watched it.
Is it good for
Or
like 3 days or something? Like, and then it just expires after three
I
days?
don't think it expires. I think once you open the access to it, it's yours. It's on Disney
Okay.
platform. I'd have to double check because I haven't gone back to I already watched it, so I never even thought to look how long it lasts. But that's a great point. I think you unlock access to it because once you download it on your platform, what?
You have it.
Yeah, why would they say now it's expired? You got to pay for it again? Like that wouldn't make any sense. But that's a great question. But it's like a pay per view thing. Like how you go in and you pay your
Yeah, yeah,
$30. You go, you
yeah.
log in. It was really straightforward and it was instant. Once you pay you got to do it on your iPad or something. You can't do it on the TV. Once you submit it, boom, it's like became available right on our TV instantly.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
Yeah, but even on like those pay-per-view movies or some of the other like stars or like what are the ones that you can actually purchase a movie and rent it? Or I guess if you purchase it, you purchase it, but if you rent it, you only have it for 24 hours or whatever. There's like a time limit before it expires. So
yeah.
if
They
you
don't
pay
say it's
$30, I would assume like that's yours. Like you have it and you have it
yeah.
forever.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think you're renting it. It doesn't say you're renting it. You're just unlocking access to it
Right.
earlier than everybody else. And the funny thing is, if we waited 3 months or whatever, I think whatever like Mulan came out live, and so many months later it was free. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to pay the $30. So I don't know what the time window is. I'm kind of curious, when does Cruella drop and it's free for everybody? If
Mm.
it's 5 months, 6 months, I don't know. I know it's less than a year, but I think Black Widow is something I want to see in the movie theater because I think it's going to be high action. And it's funny because I was just telling my wife that out of the Marvel characters that have dropped, she's probably one of my favorite female characters. That I think they did such a great job with her that I actually enjoy watching her on the screen. Like I know Scarlett Johansson's beautiful, so put that aside. But just I think they did such a good job with her. They casted her really well, and and I was telling her like I like her. I like the Scarlet Witch. I could never get into Captain Marvel or Captain Marvel or whatever. Like something
Yeah.
about her.
I think a
Just
lot of people just yeah they don't uh, I don't know yeah a lot of people feel the same way you do that they don't like her in that role and they don't like her as an actress, but Scarlett Johansson's great. Yeah, I'm just surprised it took this long for her to have her own movie, right? It's just like she's been in it since the second movie, or maybe you could say the third if you take Iron Man 2. That's when she was introduced. Now we're 23 or 20 something like that movies into the whole MCU, and now she gets her standalone movie. It just seemed like they waited too long, I think, you know. And of course
especially
this
for
isn't
she
obviously a
died too.
spoiler anymore, right? She dies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now it's like you're going back as almost like a prequel. I almost wish they came up with this movie before that, and then I think her death in Endgame would have had much more impact. I think. I
Unless
don't know.
the reason they're doing it is that they want some of these characters in the new movie to be part of the new Marvel universe, so they have to do it now, even though technically it's a. I don't think it's a prequel. I think she actually goes back and revisits them. It's not like it's going to show her life. I think this is supposed to be kind of her coming back. And she says some in the previews like it's been too long since I've been back and stuff. So I don't
Mhm.
think it's necessarily a prequel. I think you're going to get some backstory on her, but I think this might be a way of tying in some of these new action characters for future movies. There's got to be some connection
Yeah,
because why do this? Like just so you can have a one-off, like
yeah. Well,
But
I think yeah, and it sounds like it's her sister that's in this movie,
yeah,
and she might be like the new Black Widow. This is where this is where the whole multiverse thing comes into play because I've read something as well. If they open it up to have all these different like timelines and all these different, whatever multiverses, you can actually start pulling in other actors to play basically those same characters. Like if you remember like Loki, all the different Loki
yeah,
versions that are
yeah.
out there, there's many versions of Iron Man and many versions of Captain America. I mean, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, like now the Marvel could sit there and say, well, the guy that plays Captain America doesn't want to play that character anymore. Well, we have this other actor that would love to play him, and maybe he could be the same character just in a different timeline. They could start just it'd be a great way to introduce the X-Men, Fantastic Four. It could just be, oh, they came from another timeline, and so there's so many things that they could do now because of this whole new
Yeah,
storyline.
but I hope not, because I don't want to see Dwayne Johnson come back as Thor. Like, oh, he's
Right.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
or someone else coming
Yeah, yeah.
back.
Somebody who plays those characters, they played them so well. They don't want somebody else to
Yeah,
come
because
in
like
and
Robert Downey
yeah, yeah,
Jr. did Iron Man so well. They're not even Iron Man. He did like Tony Stark so well, like so believable.
yeah.
I don't want Christian Bale to be the new Tony Stark. You know, it's like something
Sure.
like it just wouldn't fit. I
Yeah,
think.
but they have like in the comics, right? They always have different variations of those characters. It's not really them, but it's just a different variation of it.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
just
Like the Hulk, there's like all these different versions of the Hulk that they
yeah.
haven't even touched on in the movies. And like he could be introduced as like a whole other character without having any backstory on it. It's like, oh, he was from that timeline and now he's coming in.
Yeah.
This is what
Well,
DC has done so well
I
with
could
their
see
shows.
I could see if Ed Norton came back and played a different version of Hulk or something like
Sure, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Just something
if
along those lines, or
yeah, I don't know. I think there's so many characters in the Marvel universe. Do you really need to start digging in? I just feel like you can just kind of move forward. You have a new
sure.
Captain America, where the Falcon is now the new Captain America. You have that. I just don't want to see Bucky come back neutered again. Like just keep Bucky. If the Winter Soldier can't be a guy or like just like a real
Yeah, yeah,
soldier,
yeah.
just get just kill. Um,
Just kill them
I
off.
and I want to see. I'm curious when as you're talking about that. I wonder if that's how they bring in the new Black Panther. Is he from a multiverse?
Yeah, right. That could
Because you
also
can't
be
bring in,
another. You're right.
yeah. So
It's a
that
great
might be the
point.
one way to bring him in and say, oh yeah, it's not him, but he died in real, but we have this guy that's from a different
Right.
timeline.
Right. They could at
I
least
mean,
explain those kind of characters. Because how do you explain the X Men? Like, where have they been? Like, they haven't, contractually they couldn't use them, but now they can, and it's like, how do you introduce them? And this would be
yeah,
one way to do that.
yeah, no, that would be interesting. All right. Well, I'm not sure how to segue from that because I think the Marvel thing is what we're really looking forward to right now, and Black Widow in the next week or so. So that'll keep us, you know, watching Loki, the Black Widow. So Disney Plus, we've been complaining about it, but now there's a lot of stuff going on in the
Yeah.
Disney universe that's got us. I think there might be a lull, right? I think there's a few weeks in the summer. I don't know what's in August. I think there's another show dropping, if I'm
Um,
not mistaken.
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything really coming up until I think Spider-Man 3, I think is the next one. I think that's in December. I think
So the
that's
Mandalorian and Spider Man are
well,
the
yeah, well, you're talking about just Disney Plus, just
yeah.
Disney Plus. Yeah, yeah. So I think well, not the Mandalorian, it's the bounty hunter
Oh,
one, the
the
Boba
Boba
Fett,
Fett.
the Book of Boba. So that one I think
Yeah.
comes first, and then the next
Okay.
Mandalorian.
All right. So we might
Season.
have a
Yeah.
little lull in Disney Plus. So, but you know what? We got fantasy football to keep
Yeah.
us busy. So it won't
Um,
matter.
and another movie that's coming up that's also long awaited. I know you're not a huge fan of them, but The Fast and the Furious with my
You
boy
know,
John Cena.
well, okay. Thank you. I've actually have gotten
And The
back.
Rock is not in this one,
Okay.
by the
I've
way.
been watching the Fast and the Furious franchise, and I've gotten into it because I like the car. I love fast cars. I thought it was kind of I thought they were kind of cheesy, but I actually do like them. I actually watch them. They're one of those movies that for some reason, if I see it on TV, I'll stop and watch them, and I get
Yeah,
hooked
yeah.
right back in. And I've already watched it, but I've gotten hooked in. So they're kind of like that. dumb fun kind of movie. You don't need to
Yeah,
think
yeah,
a
it's
lot.
dumb fun. Exactly,
It,
exactly. It's
yeah,
insane action, right? You don't even like. It's not even believable, right? Half of the things that they do
yeah,
in the movie, but you don't like. Who cares? Whatever. It's like they just. It's
yeah.
action packed. It's fast cars. It's it's
Beautiful
like
women,
high
fast
energy, beautiful.
cars,
Yeah,
action.
yeah, high energy music play. It's like it
Yeah,
gets you pumped. Those that's what those
yeah.
movies do. And who cares about
And
the
it's the
bad
collection
acting
of,
and
yeah, this was gonna say the
yeah.
worst collection of acting, like Vin Diesel, The Rock, John Cena,
Whoa, whoa,
and
whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, now.
John Cena.
Hey now. He-
And I'm glad you brought up his name, because when we were talking about people who transferred from like WWF to like movies and all that, how did I forget John Cena? The worst, worst. He's not good in comedies. He's not good in action movies. He has the worst body language as a action hero. So the fact that you're excited about him in this Fast and Furious,
from what I see in the trailer, he looks like he does a good job. That's all I'm gonna say. He does look,
oh
and
my god,
he is in the new Suicide Squad movie as well. So there's two
oh,
big blockbuster John Cena movies coming out.
someone has to save that movie from him, because he is. What is the movie with Mark Wahlberg? Is it Daddy's Home? What's that? Where he's what is the movie with him and Will Ferrell with Mark Wahlberg? Mark
What
Wahlberg.
is that? Daddy's Home? I thought it was Daddy's Home.
Is it Daddy's Home? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it is Daddy's Home. Daddy's Home 2. John Cena was like this dad. He
Oh, was
comes
he in
in
it?
and he's in it. Daddy's Home
Oh, I
2.
didn't know
You haven't
that.
watched it?
No,
Oh
no.
my god.
Now I have to
I
because
gotta
John Cena's in it.
I and I gotta say, Mark Wahlberg, actually, I shit on him. He was funny. Now, was he the funniest guy in the movie? No, because he had Will Ferrell that carried a lot of it. But Mark Wahlberg did a good job in that movie. But John Cena came in, and I'm like, God, you can't act. You are. Why do they keep casting you in these movies? You're terrible. He even does a commercial where he rides in on a purple cow. I forget what it's even for. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, God, he
Yeah,
is
that would.
not.
Yeah, that's a bad. It's an insurance. I think it's some
Is it
insurance.
insurance?
I think so. Yeah, it's some insurance
John
commercial.
Cena is
Yeah.
in. Now he's not. He's not like, I know he knows he's not a real actor. Like, he's not like Nicolas Cage, who thinks he's an actor and plays an actor, and he just sucks. John Cena is this guy that's this muscle head that plays in action movies.
Right.
He's just not good. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry,
I
Big Me. I just don't know how you can. He's not
no,
good.
he's not. No. I'm in agreement with you. I don't think he's a great actor at all. I think he's finding his way into the acting world because these wrestlers, he's done it for a long time wrestling, right? He became a big star and he's a big draw for a lot of people because they know him from wrestling, but he can't do that forever. He's getting older.
Yeah.
And now it's like, hey, why not just throw him into movies? He's got, he's got like a muscular build, right? He looks like an action star, and they're gonna just try to find those certain roles for him. I don't think they could ever put him in a movie where he is like the lead actor in an action movie and in a serious action movie. You know what I mean? Like he can't. I don't know if he could ever be that guy, but he's like the villain somewhat in this Fast and Furious movie, and that's just like you said, dumb fun. He's the silly character in Suicide Squad. He plays in some of these little comedies where he kind of acts like a goofball. So he's not taking himself serious. He's not Nicolas Cage in a Con Air movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what that movie I don't think will ever come out with John Cena. I don't know if he wants to be that. Maybe he knows that he's not good enough to carry a movie like that. The Rock has done it. The Rock has done a lot of those movies, and I think The Rock is a bad actor as well.
He
But
does a better job. It's something about Dwayne Johnson does a better job than John Cena. Like,
sure,
even when it's like those scenes where you don't need a lot of dialogue, it's just like, Dwayne, give us that look that you give when you're getting into an action mode or whatever. When John Cena does it, it's just like he can't sell it. You're not selling it, John.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
too
yeah.
goofy. Something about you, I can't take you serious. And like, I think he was even in the stupid Transformers movie, the Bumblebee movie. He was like a
Yes,
general in it, and I was like, man, you're overacting, dude. Just stop. Just
yeah,
stop.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
you
yeah.
just overact. Like, and I feel like Dwayne was like that, but he got better over time. John Cena has been in a lot of stuff, and he's not getting better. He's getting worse. And I'm like, oh man, you're like,
Well, he's
dude,
only real. I mean, he's been in a lot of movies now, but they're very few and far between. It's not like he's had a run of movies over and over, like until just
not yet,
recently. Until
not yet.
recently,
But I think they're gonna
he's working
market the
on his
crap out of him.
craft. He's working
Yeah.
on his craft.
I'm sorry. If
Somebody,
you're a John Cena fan, I know he's a local person and people love him, but
don't put him in
terrible
that.
actor.
Don't put him in that Nicolas Cage character
No,
category
no.
just
Like I
yet.
said, that's not fair to him because I know he's not. Like he didn't go in there saying I'm an actor. They're just like,
Yeah,
hey, we'll give you $1 million. You want to be in? Oh yeah, I'll do it for
sure.
multi-million
Yeah,
dollars
yeah.
or
He's trying to
whatever you want.
carry. Yeah, because what else is he gonna do, right? He can't. I mean,
Yeah.
he hasn't wrestled in forever now, and he'll probably make like spot appearances here and there, but yeah, he can't be going out there and be a full time wrestler anymore. So what the hell else is he going to do with his time? You
This is
go into
awful.
movies, just like Batista.
He's pitching it.
Batista's the same way.
He pitched a TV show. Was it Wipeout? I forget what the show he's doing.
Yes, yeah,
He's
yeah,
doing. Is it
yeah, yeah,
Wipeout? And I'm looking at it, I'm like,
yeah.
I can't watch it. I actually thought that show was funny to watch. Just like you flip through it, and you stop and watch these people get whacked around by these like obstacle courses. If he's narrating it and he's gonna be the voice that's gonna be like commenting through the, I'm like, no, I can't deal with it. Nope, sorry, I can't deal with John Cena that
Yeah.
much. Like I can only take you in small doses. But anyways, anyways,
Well,
all
we'll
right,
see when
let's transition
we'll
to
see
something.
when Fast and Furious comes out. We'll see when I do actually have a new show, and I'll be quick with this one because
Oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Go
yes,
ahead.
yes, there is a show, and I just happened to started watching
But
it
you're
the other
afraid to
day.
tell us because I know you're like you're nervous how this is gonna blow up on you. So,
My wife started watching it. It was in the background, and I just happened to look over, and I'm like, "Oh, this show just looks absolutely stupid." And my son was watching it too, and I said, and I 5-10 minutes in, I was like, "Huh, I'm actually kind of intrigued as to where this is going." So the show is called. If Jarvis was here, he would laugh at the name. It's called Sweet Tooth. It's called Sweet Tooth. It's on Netflix.
oh,
Have
the
you heard of it?
mutant. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
They were talking
yes,
about it. The mutant kids, they like with antlers or something.
yes,
They're born.
yes. Have you watched? You haven't seen it.
I no, no.
You heard of it?
I saw I heard of it on the radio.
It's
They were talking
not
about it on
bad.
sports radio.
It's not bad.
Okay.
I'm telling you. I don't know how to best describe it because at first, when like when my wife and son were watching it, I was like, all right, it's this like family movie, right? And then as you're
Okay.
watching it, you're like, oh, this is actually kind of dark. This is a little dark, and there's people that like get killed in it, and it's kind of like harsh some of the things that like the whole plot of the whole movie, but it's like so basically without really giving anything away because this is basically what the show's about. It's like a post-apocalyptic world, and
Okay.
most of the world has died from like some virus, and it kind of hits close to home with like the whole COVID thing that's been going on. But as this virus is wiping off like most of like the population, all the newborns or most of the newborns that are being born, they're being born as half animal, half human. So they call them like these hybrid um, mutants, I guess. If they're not really mutants, but they're just hybrid, half animal, half human. And everybody just wants to just wipe the world of them because they feel like they're the ones that brought on the virus. And the show just revolves around this one kid that's basically a half deer, half human. I know it sounds bizarre. It sounds bizarre, but if Jarvis was here, he'd be shaking his head.
Oh my God.
It's not a bad show. It's not a bad show. I'm telling you, there's some decent action in it. There's a good little bit of good humor in it. In a way, it's kind of a family movie, but it's also kind of dark. And I'm interested in how it's going to end because I'm only like 3 episodes in. I think there's like 8 total episodes. The fact that it's called Sweet Tooth, I'm telling you, Jarvis is going to be listening to this podcast later. I'm not going to watch another stupid show with a stupid name. But I'm telling you, watch the first episode and give it until I would just say watch the first episode. And if you're not hooked after that and you don't want to watch the rest of it, then you don't have to watch. But at least watch the first episode. I bet you will be hooked.
Okay. Okay. That sounds. I've heard them talk about it on sports radio, and I didn't hear too much. They talked about
Were
it
they
once, but
bashing it or were they like
well, one person was
building
doing
it
what you
up?
do, trying to make the case for it, and everybody was like,
Yeah.
"What the? Are you kidding me?" Like,
It sounds crazy. It sounds
yeah.
absolutely crazy. But there are some scenes in it where you're like, whoa, like that's like they don't. It's not gory or anything like that. But there are scenes where you almost are like, wow, this show probably isn't for kids.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so
Uh,
it's a difficult show to try to explain. I just say give it a shot. Sweet
okay.
Tooth on Netflix.
All right. And the only thing I could say is if you're looking for a movie or drama, I just watched this too. If you're looking for something during the summer to kill some time, actually a strong cast. It's a Netflix original. It's called "Woman," a woman in the window. The woman in the window. It's one of those like mystery, murder mystery type of things, and I think it seems kind of cliche because how many movies are made where a woman is like in her apartment and she witnesses a murder from across sees a murder across the street or something like that. But it actually has Amy Adams from The Office in it, and she was in Superman, and she's been in a lot of movies lately. And it has Julianne Moore, and it has Oldman, and it actually has Falcon from The Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie in it. So it actually has a pretty good cast. It's an hour. It's under 2 hours, so it's not a bad movie. It's one
Was
of those
Amy was was Amy
go ahead.
Adams? I don't think Amy Adams was in The Office. At least I
I
don't
thought
think
she was in
I
the.
thought I don't think
Isn't
she
she
was in The Office.
Pam in The Office?
No, no, no. That's somebody else. No, that's a different actress. No, that's somebody
Are
else.
you sure?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, Amy Adams is the one. You got to write the first time. She was in The Fighter, and she was in um, the Superman. She played Lois Lane, and no, Pam is played
Oh,
by somebody completely different.
oh,
Yeah,
I
they
always
look alike. They look alike, but they're not. That's not
is
the
that
same.
why? Okay, because I don't
Yeah.
watch. Oh, I'm thinking of Jennifer Fisher. Jenna Fisher is Pam
Yes,
Beasley.
yes, yes, yes. That's her name.
Oh, I didn't. I never watched the Office series, and I always thought that was her. I'm like, is that the same lady? Because they look so to me, they look the same. Oh man. Oh
No,
boy,
that's
I'm
why
gonna
when
get
you
a.
said The Office, I go, wait a minute, that she's not, unless she was like some side character. I mean, I watched a lot of episodes of The
Oh,
Office, but I
you know
didn't
what?
watch every
I,
episode.
shit, I always thought they were the same people. This whole time when I watched Superman, I'm like, oh wow, what a she really switched roles from her thing. I just never watched it.
That is great. Now I'm
This
gonna
whole
have to put
time,
a side by side picture with the two and say, I can see the
uh,
resemblance.
yeah, I'm way off. Oh man, I'm gonna get an R3 lashing now. All right. Anyways, whoever she
But but
is, she
but
does a
that
good job.
show that you're describing is this like a remake of the old movie, or the movie is a remake of what the heck was that movie with the guy who was like in a wheelchair and he was looking out his window and he witnessed
Yeah,
the murder. It's
I
like
think I think it's like an
it came out in
Alfred
like the
Hitchcock.
60s. Yeah,
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 Alfred
Alfred
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock movie. Yeah,
Yes.
it's. I've seen multiple variations of that, and this is kind of like it. It's actually well done because there's a good twist in the end where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and it had my wife like suspense. Like it wasn't gory or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. The end was kind of gory, but it wasn't. It just had you on your edge trying to figure out where is this going. So if you like murder mysteries, not too bad. Not a bad movie. And again, it's under
Yeah.
2 hours. So if you're looking for a movie and you want to kill some time, I love when they're only a couple hours and it's not a big time drag. It's like, hey,
Right.
I just want to watch something before I go to bed. There's no sports on. You can bang it out pretty quickly. So
So
just
what is this movie called?
it's on
Uh,
Netflix. It's came out in 2021. It's called the oops, one second.
Woman
I
in
was
the Window.
Woman in the Window.
So the old Alfred Hitchcock movie was Rear Window, and that came
Okay.
out in 1954. So it looks like it's like a similar plot, almost like a remake, but with a woman
Yeah.
playing the role of that
Yeah. And there
the
was a
guy.
movie like that
Yeah.
not too long ago that I can't remember the name of it, but I remember something like that. It's killing me now that this whole time I always thought this was the same woman from The Office that's been in all these stupid movies. Man, it's killing me. I can't believe it. I didn't know they were two different people, but oh well. You know what? You know what's sad is I watched my son play baseball all season, and there was these two kids. I felt like, why is this kid up again? And I didn't realize he had like a twin brother on the team. I didn't know there was two of them. Like I just couldn't understand why these kids looked the same, but they were kept on batting like I'm like, why is he up again? Is he cutting the line? Like is he batting out of order? And
Oh,
my son had to break it to me. He goes, oh, actually they weren't even twins. It was his young. They were like his younger brother by a year or something, but they looked
yeah, yeah, yeah.
spot on. And
Oh,
I
that's
was
fun.
like,
So I have something exactly the same. I've known these two kids who I've known for like 3 years, and they're about a year apart. And they look very like identical. Like they look like they're twins, but they're a year apart. And to this day, every time I see them, I go, you're pitching today because you didn't pitch last time. And he goes, no, I did pitch last time. It's like, oh shoot. It's like, all right, you're pitching today. And it's like, I can never figure it out. I can never say, and I'll be like, oh, the next guy in the lineup, I'll be like, hey, what are you doing? Get out there. You're on deck. He's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not. Like, I'm batting like I bat for, I
Yeah.
just bat like three guys ago. And I can never get it right. So I know your pain there because I run
Yeah.
into that same thing.
Yeah. I saw them walking into their parents' car, and I was like, I looked at my son. I go, "There's two of them." He goes, "Yeah, they're brothers." I go, "Man, this whole time I thought that was one of them." I was wondering why it was so confusing when I saw him. Anyways, and one was funny because like 1 minute the kids like one of them's really athletic, and then one of them stinks. So I was so confused. Like, why is it one at bat he looks good, and then one at bat he's breaking down and melting down and crying in the dugout? I was so confused. But there was two of them that explained it.
You're always
Anyway,
batting like the bad hitter first and then the good hitter last. They're like, what the hell? I'm
I'm
like one of the
telling you,
best hitters on the team.
one of them would strike out, and I swear he would run. You know how some kids get emotional when they strike out, like they're gonna cry. Don't talk to him. And then I'd see him get back up at bat, and I didn't realize it was his brother. And he's like hitting a line drive in the outfield, and I'm like, all right, so he's just maybe sensitive about striking out. But one was really like coordinated, and one wasn't. I couldn't figure it out that they were two different people. It was just so bizarre. So is how much I pay attention. Anyways. So let's get off the entertainment. We've kind of been ranting about entertainment. I've been dying to talk about this. So it first started. This is a big pivot for all of those people. We're going into Celtics talk right here. We're going into basketball. Big pivot. Um, when when Danny Ainge was fired, I had mixed feelings about that, but I felt like maybe it is time. I feel like he's kind of been flat the last few years. Nothing's really he's not making these moves that have really worked out. So maybe I can see he had to be the scapegoat. What I don't understand is why move Brad Stevens into that important role. Like, I just could not understand. I feel like Brad Stevens is the problem. Like, he can't get these guys to play right. He's soft. There's something about him that just doesn't resonate with this organization. And you're going to make him the head of the franchise. Totally bizarre move. Some people are just saying it's the contract that's the issue. They don't want to just dump all that money. They figure that just seems like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Is you're so worried about losing money that you're going to put this guy that's not qualified to run your franchise for the next 3 years until you feel like you got your money's worth. Then you're going to dump him. I don't know. Unless you heard something different, I just feel like that it seems like the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If that's true,
It could be it, or they like him so much that maybe they looked at him and said, well, maybe he's not the right fit as a coach, but we still want him in the organization somehow. He is a smart guy from what everybody in in the league says about him, but and for a while there, like, it was kind of crazy how even like a few years into his head coaching, people were calling him like the best coach in the league, or like better than like Greg Popovich, who just won 5 championships. And it
yeah.
was just like what has Brad Stevens done? Like, there was so much hype around him, and so I think people respect him, they like him, and they just, maybe the Celtics organization just wanted to put him in that role. I don't really get it. I used to be a big Celtics backer, right? I used to always say like, oh yeah, they're going to turn it around. Now they got this guy, they got this guy. I just think the whole organ, it's just a mess. It's a complete mess right now. I mean, I just read something the other day that they're thinking about bringing in Lonzo Ball
Yeah, I heard that
onto the
too.
team,
Yeah.
and people were like all excited over it. I'm like, they're Celtics fans, and I don't mean to sound like a Felger here because that's Jarvis's job, but Celtics fans are some of the worst, right? They are so big on they're such supporters of Celtics, and they're like, oh, they can do no wrong. I got into an argument earlier this year with somebody who I used to work with. We went out for dinner one time, and we're all just it was like midway through the Celtics season, and they were talking about this. So they're huge Celtics fans. They go to the games, they love it. I just looked at them and I said, Celtics aren't doing anything this year. I said, nobody, the two stars on the team, Tatum and Brown, they just play hero ball all the time. I know Kyrie Irving's a dick, right? But I think when he came in, he was a dick, and those guys were dicks, because they were like young guys, they couldn't mesh together and they couldn't play. Whereas Kyrie Irving's probably like, hey, I've been in the league for a while. I've won a championship. I'm one of the best players in the league. Let me be the leader of this team, and you guys follow me. And they were probably like, no, no, no. We're too cocky or too we don't want that. We're stars now. We want to be the stars of the team,
Yeah.
and that's just not going to win you championships. And I was trying to explain this to my old coworker, and they were like, "Oh, you're just a Celtics hater. You're just a hater." It's like, no, the whole thing is just falling apart. And sure enough, it fell apart, And now you're starting to hear rumblings in the news that like nobody liked each other, um, and it's a complete mess, and they don't know which direction to go. I wasn't a fan of that trade of Kemba Walker. I know Kemba Walker, right? He couldn't be healthy. He had a bad knee, and they said, well, they need a big guy, so they bring in Average Al back into the picture. Average Al is still making a lot of money. Yeah, you're saving some money off the cap, but now Al Horford is untradeable. No one's going to take Al Horford. At least
Yeah.
Kemba Walker, you had something. He still averaged 20 points a game last year, and I know he had a bad knee, but you know who else has a bad knee? Al Horford. So it just and they gave up the 16th overall pick for him. I get it. It's a 16th overall pick. You're not going to, it's a little bit of a crapshoot at that point, but you could still get a decent player in the draft, especially this year where they're saying it's the deepest draft in years. In like 10 years, it's been like it's one of the deepest drafts. So I didn't understand that other than just to cut some salary and save some money. But it's not now people are saying, well, if they get rid of Al Horford after this year, well, now they're really going to save a lot of money because it's not, I guess, the last year, I guess something with a contract where like he as long as he's still with the team after this year, then you got to pay him that extra whatever 20 plus million
Yeah.
dollars that he's getting paid. He's not going anywhere. How do you get rid of him? He's on a guaranteed contract. You can't trade him. No one's going to take Al Horford at his stage of his career. So you're
It's
stuck with that contract.
yeah,
So
bizarre.
just
Completely
to go
bizarre.
back to what you were saying, everything between the Danny Ainge thing, which he's been around for what 15 years. It was time for him to go. I think Brad Stevens. It was his time to go as well. I don't really understand why he's the president of the organization now. I think the players on the team are not very likable. I used to love Tatum. I still like Tatum, but you need some other stars around him. Free agents don't want to come to play for the Celtics.
Really.
Um, Maybe you could build it off of the draft, but you have to suck for a couple of years to be able to do that. And who knows? I think the only bright spot behind this whole thing is maybe the head coach that they hired. Maybe he's a good coach that everybody respects and he's going to do a great job. But that's the only shining light I see with this whole Celtics deal. And so that was my rant because we don't have our third man in Jarvis here. So I was trying to do my best
Yeah,
Jarvis impersonation there.
and I don't think you said anything that I would disagree with. I'd love to argue with you, but I don't get the Al Horford signing. I don't get what they're doing. I don't see what the vision is. I and I
Like, did they bring Al Horford in this year and the next year is because they're going to try to compete for a championship?
well, no, I think from what I've heard, it's that they wanted someone with like that pedigree that could be like a leader in the clubhouse to kind of get these kids back their minds back in line. But I didn't remember Al Horford. He is not Kevin Garnett. He is not going to like bang heads and say, "Let's get our shit together."
You
So
have to be a great player. If yeah, sure, I think people respected Al Horford and he could come in and duel it. But if you're not a great player at this, maybe he was 5, 10 years ago, he's not a great player anymore. And he's just you can't come in and be like, well, I'm going to be the leader and I'm going to like everybody get on my back. He's not that good. He's
he's
not
never
that
been,
good. So
but
you
he's never
can't
been
do
that
it.
guy. He's never been that guy. I've never seen Al Horford display himself as like the face of the franchise. It's not him. So it's just bizarre. I don't know
And
what the
and I know
Celtics are
and I
doing.
and I know they look at like the free agency list next year, right? And there's like all these great free agents after next year. I, none of them are going to want to come here. None of them are going to want to come
Well,
here.
that the new coach May Duque. I
Yeah, I
can't.
don't even know how to pronounce it.
Everybody was saying it wrong, like on the radio, and I'm like,
Yeah,
well, what is it? Duca, whatever,
Dookie.
whatever. He There's a lot of positive feedback about him, and they think he can be the guy that can convince people to come to the organization. it
Yeah,
is funny
Udoka.
because it's funny that how some idiots were writing like it's the first black coach for the Celtics. I'm like, what? How
Yeah.
stupid are you? I mean, like,
Well,
my
that guy
God.
came out and said it was Jay Williams. I guess he came out and was like, "Oh, my account was hacked," and I didn't
Yeah,
really say that.
and
I was
again,
like,
yeah, someone went to hack to
"Yeah, yeah,
write
yeah."
that. This like, come on, it's just so stupid. And and again, it's who cares what color the coach is. I'm glad if it's what the franchise needs, it's what get these guys going. Fine, I don't really care as long as he's a good coach. But at the end of the day, I really hope he can recruit talent. And I don't understand. There's a lot of hate towards Marcus Smart, saying he is the problem. I don't know if is Marcus Smart really the problem, like why these guys suck. I don't think it is. Like,
I
what's
think
the
Marcus Smart is the type of player you want on your team, the way he plays, but he's so thick-headed that he just wants to continue to shoot the ball. And he even said in an interview before, he goes, "I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to continue shooting the ball."
then bench
Well,
him?
shame on Brad Stevens. Shame on the rest of the team. Shame on whoever else in the organization that allows him to do so, because he is a great defensive player and he's a hustle guy. And I've never seen a player get more charging calls than him, right? He's just a tough guy that just
Yeah,
gets in there
yeah.
and takes the charging call. But he shoots these like ridiculous shots, especially when they're on a run. And it's like, oh, the Celtics are coming back. And here comes Marcus Smart, like jacking up threes and missing every single one of them. And yeah, once in a while he hits them and he gets hot sometimes and he's a rhythm shooter. And it's like, oh, there's Marcus Smart. He's not good enough offensively to be that guy. He needs to be like the Draymond Green to like the type of guy that the Warriors had, or like going further back, like the Dennis Rodman type of guy. I know he's not as great of a rebounder, but that physical type that's gonna give up that part of his role on the offensive side of the ball. And if
Agreed.
and if and if he could do that, yeah, he'd be a great fit. And if he's that stubborn to change, then you got to get rid of him. That's
Well,
it.
how many interviews does Brad Stevens come out and defend him and just give him praise and tell him like he's one of the leaders? If you're telling him he's one of the leaders, else is he supposed to think? He thinks he's one of the leaders of the organization. So you're taking this guy who's soft. He can't even discipline. He can't even go to Marcus Smart and say, "Hey, stupid, stop taking these shots. Like you're not our shooter. Dish it out. Like he can't do that, but you're gonna make him the GM, so he's gonna have those tough. Like it is the Brad's like, and I hate to shit on Brad Stevens because I used to like him. He just is not an NBA coach. He just isn't. I don't care. And now you made him a GM. So I think this is gonna be such a freaking disaster that we're gonna be behind. What are we gonna wait a decade for him to clean up the mess after whatever Brad Stevens does? He's too soft. He's gonna create a soft culture in this organization. We're gonna have these guys that are just the players are going to run the team, and look what it's doing. They suck without
Yeah.
leadership. They suck.
I love it when you say suck.
Well,
They
it just
suck. It,
because everybody's like, well, we need more talent. Jalen Brown and Tatum are really talented players. They're not
yeah.
even in their full prime yet, and
Yeah.
we're dealing with two guys that have no direction. I feel like they
No.
just something's
They
wrong.
well they each want to be like the main guy, the alpha dog on the team. And that creates chaos on a team, right? Then now they're not passing the ball when they should. They're not working as a team. They're like, nope, I'm going to take the shots. No, I'm going to. And this happened years ago with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Well, they
Yeah,
were on the same team
I
together.
remember
It,
that.
it was
Yeah,
like Durant was the MVP of the year, but Westbrook led the team in shots taken. How can you be the MVP of the team and there's another guy taking more shots than you? It would just and that never worked out. And they just split up the two and they said this isn't going to work out. They're not on that same level of those guys, but it's a similar situation of what's going on. And you're not going to survive unless maybe the new coach, right? He gets in their head and maybe they are like, you know what, you're right. It's time to go with the Doc Rivers Ubuntu mentality that he had with the Celtics back in 2008, right? Kevin Garnett was still a star in the league. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, these guys were averaging 25 points a game. They came in and they all averaged 19 points a game, 18 points a game, 17 points a game. They gave it up so they could work together. And what they do, they had one of the best Celtic seasons of all time. and only lost like 15 games that year and won the championship. And
Yeah.
it was a
But
great defensive team.
Doc Rivers had the pedigree to keep them, to keep them focused and,
Yeah, well,
to respect.
check their ego at the door,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's like you got to just check your ego at the door and just come in, and it's like the end goal here is to win a championship. Now, for them, right, neither one of those three had won a championship before that, right? So they were kind of aging, right? They were the latter half of their career, and they were getting to the point where like, hey, it's do or die now. We just forget about our stats and whatever. Let's just try to win a championship. And they did that. Where these guys, Tatum and Brown, they're young. They're looking at themselves like we want to be the next Kobe, and it's just it doesn't create a winning mentality for the team. And
Yeah.
that's shame on the coach. Shame on the coach. Shame on the organization for allowing that to happen.
Yeah. And I gave Doc Rivers credit for that season, but and looking at it, like he hasn't been a great NBA coach. He's okay, but he's not great. I really think you need someone like Kevin Garnett. Just take control. Like put these guys
Well,
in their place and just
sure. Well,
be a
Doc
leader.
Rivers has had success. He just hasn't won a championship again since then, right? He took the Clippers. They were pretty good for a number of
Yeah,
years. Now he's with the 76ers. They were the number one seed, and then they ended up, losing in the playoffs here this
yeah.
year. So
But like I mean,
he's
but
a
he's
good
not. He's no
coach. He's
Pop.
just not
Yeah, he's
right.
not a Popovich. He's not going to go down as like
No, no,
one of
no.
the. But he's a well-respected coach. I just also think Kevin Garnett, from stuff that I've heard and read, he really was like the alpha that kind of just kept these guys in check, kept
Yeah.
everybody in check. And then they don't have anybody like that. Like one of these guys, either Tatum or Brown, has to emerge and say, "Look, I'm the alpha. This is how we're going to do it. And if it ain't going to work, someone's got to go." I
Yeah.
just don't get like Marcus Smart. Like everybody like keeps blaming Marcus Smart. I'm like, if you're relying on Marcus Smart is what's making and breaking this team, you're out of your mind. It's not him that's making and breaking the team. You need your superstars to get their shit together. It's not just Marcus Smart. There's a bigger issues going on. But anyways, it's just so frustrating. And now, I'm watching the championship, and I know we talked about we wanted to make our pick. I'm making my pick. I'll lay it out right now. I am rooting for Giannis. I think Giannis is fun to watch. His personality doesn't rub you like some of the other stars in the NBA. He just seems more down to earth than the other guys. I like that he's staying in Milwaukee. He's not chasing the ring like, oh, I'm just going to go team up with these guys. Giannis could go anywhere and make a team
Yeah.
superstar.
He can make his own super team.
Yeah.
For sure.
The fact that he's sticking around, that they built the stadium, this new stadium for him, they want him there, and he's being loyal, that makes Giannis likable. I think this is the window of opportunity. All the super teams are out. Like I don't think the Suns, I don't think Atlanta and Suns. Who's the? I'm drawing a blank on the who the Suns playing.
The Clippers,
The
although
Clippers.
they're down 3 games to 1 now, and
Yeah.
they
So
still don't have Kawhi
I'm
Leonard.
drawing a blank on Clippers. So between the Clippers, the Suns, and Atlanta, Giannis has his window of opportunity. There's no reason Giannis can't go to the NBA championship and win it. And he's so fun to watch. The way he plays his game, he's so aggressive. I'm all in on Giannis. And I know I was teasing you
He's
about being undefeated,
explosive.
but the way he attacks the rim and he moves around the rim, like he can move, like he's going in for a layup and you're thinking he's making one move, and then he just does this twist of his body or hand. He moves his hand a certain way, and he just changes like the play, like the way he's going up for the layup. He's just electric to watch, and I just
Yeah. Oh, he's
love
great.
watching him.
He's great. And I loved I think it was game one when they lost to Atlanta. And it was that play where Trey Young, like he was open for a 3-pointer, and he did that little like shimmy before he shot the 3-pointer, and he got it in. And you could see Giannis on the sideline in a timeout huddle, like basically yelling at his teammates, like, we gonna put up with that? Like he's just sitting there like doing the shimmy
Yeah.
before he shoots, like basically rubbing it in our face. And you could tell he was talking because he was doing it himself, like in the huddle,
Yeah.
like what Trey Young was doing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then what they do the very next game, they came back and they won by like 40 points or
They
some
crushed them.
ridiculous, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's a leader, right? That's what you want. You need a guy like that who's a great player, right? And a leader, and somebody people are gonna be look up to and say, hey, carry us to this win. and that's what the Celtics need. But yeah, yeah. Despite that, he's Greek, and I put Greek in quotations because he's
Yeah.
not really Greek. He was just raised in Greece, and he speaks the language. But he is great. He's fun to watch, and they're only up 2 games to 1 right now against Atlanta. Trae Young is hurt now. He might not even play here, so it looks like it's going to be the Bucks. The Suns are up 3 games to 1. They got that in the bag. Kawhi Leonard ain't coming back. Suns are going to win that series, and then you just got the Suns and the Bucks. And I obviously I'd be rooting for the Bucks because I do like Giannis, but I wouldn't mind if the Suns win it either because Chris Paul has been in the league a long time, and I don't
I
think he's ever won it,
That's
right?
fair. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's up there in age, and he's still a great player. So it'd be nice for him to finally get his ring. So it'll be one of
And
those.
Chris Paul is likable. He's not an
He is,
unlikable
he is,
NBA player. Like
yeah,
he's always come off something about him. He's a good guy. You root for him, so you want to see him win it. But I don't really care about
yeah.
the Suns.
Yeah, I'm not like oh I'm rooting for the organization.
Yeah,
I just like Chris
yeah,
Paul, but I like Giannis better. So he's
yeah,
the guy I'm rooting for. And I would say the Bucks. In
yeah.
my opinion, that's who's gonna end up winning it.
Now it's going to give the NBA championship. They're going to have a heartburn because it's Phoenix and Milwaukee. That's
Right.
like a ratings nightmare for them because I mean they're already hurting in the ratings as it is, and now you're going to have these small franchises. But
Yeah.
I think Giannis winning it is going to be the face of the NBA, and I think he's a great person to have represent the NBA. Durant is unlikable. LeBron is unlikable.
Hate
So many of
Durant.
these guys are so shit, like
Oh
suck.
yeah. They're just
And
dinks. They're just
yeah,
dinks.
and every
Right?
time they talk, you hate them more. And I'm like, I
Right.
just don't want to see you win. And I wonder like if the NBA gets it. Like these guys are ruining. Like they're great players. You want to watch them. You just want them to shut the hell up because every time they talk,
Yeah.
they're miserable on the court. They're
I agree.
bitching. They're like those action movies where the lead star is whiny. The movie's unlikable because the guy's whiny all the time. Durant's getting so whiny. It's like he's turning into LeBron, and it's like,
Mm.
dude, you're so talented. Let it go. Like,
Just shut up and play.
yeah,
He never. I don't remember him ever being like that until he got to the Warriors. And then I think people gave him such a hard time, like, "Oh, you sold out, like you left your team and
yeah,
you went to your super team just to get the ring." And I think ever since then he was just like, "Well, screw you. I'm just going to be an asshole from here on out
yeah. He has
because
been.
of." And
Yeah,
he's insufferable. So I'm glad the Nets aren't in it. I'm glad the Lakers aren't in it. I don't like Philadelphia because it's Philadelphia, and I don't really like Embiid. I think he's kind of a dick too. So
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
glad they lost. So all the teams that you just want to root against, they're all out. So
yeah.
all the
And
teams that are left,
and
I'm
again,
happy with them.
the odds of Milwaukee being in this situation with the chances to win next year when the Nets are fully healthy again, LeBron's back on the lake. It's going to be hard. So
Yeah,
this is his window, and if Giannis wants to, again, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. So I don't think he's going to be with the Bucks forever. But if he can win them a championship, and then he says, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to go to another team."
yeah.
God bless you.
And and
Yeah,
and don't
you want,
and don't forget about the Celtics with the great Al Horford back on
yeah.
the team. They're gonna compete for the championship as well. So Giannis has got them to go through as
Ugh,
well.
God,
Ugh.
talking about like an easy stepping stone. I would trade Tatum and Brown for Giannis. Just please give me someone excite like electric to. I do like Tatum and Brown. I don't want to knock them, but they've made themselves unlikable. It's like that Red Sox team where they were just that year when Pedroia was a whiny bastard and he was always
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah, yeah.
But it like
Unlikable.
that team
Yeah,
became so unlikable, and you're like, it's just no fun when the team is not likable. It's just not fun. And the
I
Celtics,
agree.
I'm hoping this new coach brings a certain energy that maybe we're just gives us an opportunity. He'll revitalize the team and get control of this. But
Yeah, yeah. And my last point on the whole Tatum thing, like I like Tatum, um, and if they had to get rid of one or the other, I'd rather have them get rid of Brown because there's something about him. I think he's too wild. I think Tatum is a little bit more polished of a player, and he's a little bit younger, but so he's got more room to grow. And there's something about Brown, like when he talks, Like he's becoming into he's getting into that like dink status, like Durant, and like when he talks and he's got this like facial expression, and he's just got that punchable face sometimes. Whereas Tatum just seems like he's still like, when he talks, he doesn't really say anything that stupid. Like he's just, I don't know. Like that's the difference between the two. I almost don't like Brown all that much, and I like Tatum more for his personality, and I think he's a little bit more of a polished player. Keep Tatum, get rid of Brown, and do
Yeah,
whatever you want with the rest of the team.
I think Tatum can carry the team by himself. I think he's got the talent. I think Brown. I don't know if we're saying
Yeah,
we're seeing his
Tatum
peak.
Tatum could be a 30 points a game guy if
Yeah,
Brown's not there. And he
yeah,
and he kind of proved that in the playoffs. Tatum was scoring 30 points a
yeah,
game when Brown was
exactly.
hurt.
Yeah, I think Tatum can carry the team on his back if he had to. If you're going to say who's going to win you this game, Tatum can put the whole team on his back and win you a game. I just don't know if Brown has that full potential. I mean, but they're both talented, and again, maybe some good coaching. Maybe they'll listen to this guy. Maybe they'll resonate. Maybe it is a race thing that they're like that was thrown up. Who knows? Whatever it is, whatever makes these guys happy, just make the Celtics good again. I don't care. I don't care who the hell
It's
is
been
running it.
too long. It's been
Yeah,
too long. It's just like, come
yeah,
on. Like I think I've said this before on the text thread. You got, as much as you hate LeBron James, he's won 3 championships with 3 different teams since the last time the Celtics have won a championship. So, if like he could go to 3 different teams and win a championship with each of those 3 teams, it's like, why can't the Celtics build a good enough team that like they could stick together and win it themselves at some point? They're tied now with the Lakers with 17 championships. It's like any year now. It could be next year, it could be the year after that. The Lakers are going to surpass the Celtics for the first time ever, and how sad is that? Growing up, it was always like, oh, the Celtics, they're untouchable. They got by far the most championships, and here comes the Lakers, right? From the Magic Johnson days to Kobe Bryant, now with LeBron, it's like they're catching up.
yeah.
And well, they did catch up. They did. They're caught up. They're tied now, and they're just going to surpass them, which is too sad. Too
It is
sad.
frustrating. I hear you. I don't get it, but what are you gonna do? It's the NBA. So that's Big Meat. We've kind of deviated. We don't normally do NBA, but it was just too much going on with the Celtics not to bring it up. So we had to get
Yeah,
into it. So
I agree.
hopefully, by the next time we do our podcast, I think I want to say we'll have our draft order in place,
hmm We
right?
do. We will have
So
the draft order, and
yeah,
I would say we have to look it up because we don't want to make this. We don't want to make the mistake of drafting the wrong names because we know that a couple of guys in our league are a little clueless on that. Like, oh, I didn't know I had the top 4 pick
yeah,
until like draft day. So we have to just make sure that we look it up, find out who they are, and make sure the top 4, the losers that didn't make the playoffs get the top 4 pick, and then everybody else gets the next 6. And what I'd like to do this year when we do it, I like to video it. I like to video it so it's we have a recording of it and no funny business is going on, and then we could post it maybe on our YouTube channel so everybody could see. And
I
yeah,
like it.
and I think it'll
I like
be
it.
be a fun little thing.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
looking
it's
forward to it because that's the start of fantasy season. Once the draft order takes place, that's it. From there on out, it's fantasy season is upon us.
I agree. That's why doing a little basketball before we kick in because it's unlikely we'll dive into this. And Black Widow would have come out, so we'll be able to have a chance to maybe even would have come out by the time we do the draft order. No, I think Black Widow's coming out a few days afterwards. My bad. So, but the new episode of Loki would have dropped, so we'll finish up with some of Loki, and we'll talk about the draft order, and then that's it. We're full,
Yeah.
And then once we
Well,
get into August, I think we go back into our weekly schedule. So we're back to and it's been a busy year. I don't think people can appreciate. We're over 50 episodes now, so we've been
mhm.
cranking, especially with this year. Even with COVID, even though we're still doing things remote, we've been consistently dumping content. So
Yeah, in another few weeks or another month or so, we are going to be back in fantasy football season. There's still a lot of entertainment coming up, so we are here to make our podcast great again. This is what
yes,
it's going to be. It's going to be good. It's going to be great again.
yeah, and
Gonna put it on a hat.
yeah, yeah, and I think the remote it's easier, but hopefully we'll do some things live together, and that way we can talk about the things because we did it live, and we'll do it on the podcast. But, anyways, all right, Big Meat, we did it. I don't know how we filled in the time. I didn't know
Hmm.
if we had enough content, especially without our third man filling in. But the poor guy must have got caught up with on baby duties. So,
Yeah, yeah. If he
yeah.
was here talking about the Celtics, we would have been here for 3 hours.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. He would have said some things that would have triggered R3 for sure. So
Yes,
I
yes, yes. I would say too. My closing thought would be because I have to bring this up. It's regarding Mr. Roper, which
uh
is great because we call him Mr. Roper, and his wife. Hopefully, she doesn't listen. They had a party, and I think it was a birthday party celebrating one of their friends, and the theme of the party was a Mrs. Roper
oh.
themed party. Everyone, did you hear about this?
I did.
Everybody had to dress like Mrs. Roper, and there's no connection for us because we call him Mr. Roper. So I just thought the coincidence behind all that is hysterical to me. I thought that was like the funniest thing I heard all week when Mr. Roper himself brought it up.
Yeah,
I said, oh, that is funny.
that
Like
is
you can't make this stuff up.
how appropriate. How appropriate. Well, and on that note, I mean, like the last closing thought is it's funny we're laughing at it, but Mr. Roper has joined forces with Antifa boy, so they're on the same political wavelength now. So it's strange that Mr. Roper, who's what is
That is
it's just
true.
interesting. It is
Yes.
interesting that him and Antifa boy are on the same force
Hmm.
together now. But hey,
Yeah, yeah. They're probably planning their next protest at some point. You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah, yeah. They're defunding something, or protesting, or it is interesting. Uh, those are two unlikely people joining forces that surprise me. But hey, that's life. What are you gonna
yeah,
do?
exactly.
So
Like we said at the beginning of this podcast, people have their likes and their dislikes, and
exactly. Yeah.
that's just what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
All right, Big Meat. Well, we'll close on that. I can't wait to do the draft. I'm very excited to share the draft order, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the fantasy football season. Like I think
Yes,
that's
sir.
coming. That's it. All right, folks. Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can jump on, give us a review. Um, get ready. Start telling people, hey, fantasy season's coming up, and please share the podcast with your friends. If they're into fantasy, I think they'll get a kick out of our analysis because we do our homework, even though Big Meat does hold back on some of his draft picks just so he doesn't spoil for himself. But
Never,
I at
never.
least give you your true, honest analysis. So the true eye for talent. All right, folks, have a great night. Until next time, bye bye.